Hi, I'm Indira Kennedy, bringing you ways to lead and live more consciously and with greater spiritual intelligence. This week, there's been a theme around safety and security amongst family, amongst friends, and in the workplace itself. We can see what's going on in the world is really rattling our sense of who we are, what we feel we can depend on in the world, the structures that make up our lives, and also what's going on inside organisations and businesses to ensure that we're able to keep up with the pressures of life as it is right now. So many people taking time off, burning out, need to at least go back into recovery zone before they can move forward. I thought I wanted to do something today around how to really work with your own energy and put things in place that are around what I would call self-leadership, conscious self-leadership. So I've based this little segment on the four Qs, the four intelligences, because when we cover off those four areas of our life, they actually create balance and harmony. And we can operate in a way that actually brings our higher intelligence online, and therefore we direct our lives in a way that's going to allow us to perform at our best and give us what we truly need in our lives, while a lot of other things are leaving, a lot of other things are breaking down and need to be replaced with better ways to be. So the four Qs are physical intelligence, emotional intelligence, intellectual intelligence, mental intelligence, if you like, and spiritual intelligence. How do we build our physical intelligence? Yes, we need to look after our energy at a physical level, absolutely. Our bodies are our vehicle for everything that we experience in our life and everything we want to create in our lives. It's about diet, it's about the things that will give us energy rather than deplete us. And it's also about an internal energy. So, how is our physical energy being supported through our sleep, through the air that we breathe, through the environment that we're in, and how our body's actually able to function to continue to draw on that higher power, that higher energy from consciousness and be a very strong vehicle for that energy to work through us, for us to actually be able to handle the power of that energy. So when we balance our energy and we find a more natural flow for ourselves with our energy, we will create greater balance and harmony at the physical level. So, for example, for me, I am better when I'm doing hatha yoga, when I'm walking and long distances rather than fast, when I'm swimming, when I'm stretching and doing strength. These are the things that are my natural flow and they build my energy very, very quickly. And what we're talking about here is being gentle with ourselves, finding a natural flow, a natural energy that is true to who we are. So we don't have to go out and run marathons. We don't have to do massive gym sessions if that's not what our body responds to. We absolutely need to build bone strength, muscle strength, have a great digestive system, and look after our brain as an organ in the body. We need to breathe as well. So, physically being aware of our breath and taking time to use little tricks like square breathing, in for four, hold for four, out for four, hold for four, can rebalance the flow of prana, the flow of chi and life force through our physical body. In the last week, I have set myself up to do a 2-week program because I found myself saying to people, When I went to Peru and I was working for a retreat, but participating in the retreat and following that regime, I felt amazing after 2 weeks. Some years ago, I went on retreat to an ashram in India for 2 weeks and came back with people saying to me, "You look physically different." And it struck me, this 2 week thing, it only takes 2 weeks. So I've set myself up with a schedule, and it includes things like a sugar-free diet, a vegetarian diet, making sure I'm hydrating and having antioxidant type teas, herbal teas. It means spending some time for me, chanting, breathing, meditating, and what would be preferable in the way of aerobic exercise, strengthening exercise. So I've put together a 2 week plan on a spreadsheet, and each day at the end of the day, I'm just putting in comments and times, how many minutes I spent walking, if I went swimming, a yoga class, and the time that I spent meditating as well. So I'm actually starting to see a pattern of where my preferences are and where I could perhaps add in some things that I want to do. The thing about looking after our physical being is that it does have an impact on how we feel emotionally, and therefore what will happen mentally for us, what our intellectual capacity can be as well. So, moving on to the emotions, emotional intelligence. When we are reacting all the time, we're building adrenaline and we're building anxiety. So, emotionally, we need to get hold of what we're actually feeling. Make a distinction between, is this pure emotion, maybe driven by what you've eaten, maybe driven by hormones, maybe driven by external events and relationships. But what is the emotion, the feeling that you want to have that's actually the core of who you are and is therefore more about the heart? What is your soul saying you want and need at this time to nourish yourself emotionally? Who do you need around you? How much time alone do you need? And what kind of emotions, what kind of feeling state is your natural state? You know when you feel yourself, and we spend so much time talking about how can we be our authentic self? How can we truly be the emotional person, the energetic person we know ourselves to be at all times? So think about who you are emotionally when you're true to yourself, when you're truly at peace, when you're truly happy, when you're joyful. Who are you then? At this time, because so much goes on around safety and security, the way to bypass the ego, if you like, and the fear-driven emotion is to truly look at what do you want from your heart's perspective. What is your heart telling you? So that's why it's important to spend some time away from all of the chaos, away from all of the other sea of emotions that you're surrounded by. I know I pick up on other people's energy quite we have a psychic field. We feel other people's emotions and we actually absorb the hormones they're emitting as well. So it can be difficult sometimes to know what's me and what belongs with others. When we're feeling insecure, when we're feeling a little threatened and or just wobbly, it is really important to ask that question. Does this belong with me? Is it me? Is it my responsibility? Do I need to leave it to somebody else? And what can I do to center myself emotionally again? And for me, that is absolutely mindfulness, meditation. But in this case, I would say come back to asking questions around what does my heart say I need and what is it trying to show me? If we pigeonhole ourselves too much into being highly adaptive and highly reactive and highly flexible, we also run the risk of losing touch with ourselves, and that will absolutely lead to breakdown at some point. We will have a life crisis, we will become ill, our mind may give up for a time. These are all signals that we're off path. So go back into your heart. That's the spiritual side of this, the conscious side. And get in touch with what consciousness is wanting to bring through you at this time. And that way, you will actually stand still in the eye of the storm. You'll find a way to be more observant, more objective, and witness what's going on rather than feel like everything's happening to you. Life is a to you experience rather than at least by you, and preferably to take it to being as you, who you truly are. So let's move on to mental. We know that there's a huge prevalence of anxiety, depression, mental ill health. And the way that we address that is to ensure that we're not always in the back part of our brain, which is the limbic system, saying, is this about being safe? Are you about to do something that could really cause you pain, destroy you? It's about keeping us alive. And it's about us being able to survive more than flourish, really. So it's fine. I use a little bit of a traitor tip, a trick where I will say to myself, thank you for keeping me safe. I've got this. Thank you for keeping me safe. We can handle this together. Thank you for keeping me safe, pointing that out. I'll have a think about this and make a plan. So I'm bringing myself into my executive brain, the frontal lobe. I'm bringing myself forward into my cultivated, sophisticated thinking and strategic thinking as well. It allows me to bring the right side of my brain online rather than always going into the analytical left side that's just trying to come up with reasons, come up with observations that aren't always accurate, actually. So we need to settle the mind. I have an image that I use of a beautiful calm sea just at sunrise, and I can see the glow on the horizon. But that sea is perfectly flat, and that sea is my mind. When I do that, I'm reminding myself that my mind can be still, and therefore the light can be reflected off my mind, and my mind can see what needs to happen. It's a very, very beautiful image. So use your mind to imagine and imagine moving forward, visioning for yourself and thinking in a very positive way. It is fake it till you make it. It is about taking a negative and making a positive out of it. So catch yourself with negative thinking and immediately just turn that into a positive statement. It will shift your energy. The key to understanding is that whatever we say, whatever we think, the unconscious goes looking for a way to make that happen. It doesn't really know no, and it doesn't judge what's good or bad. So it's actually fine to say things to yourself that might not as yet have come into being, and do it in the present moment. So we know this from some of the New Age approaches, but now neuroscience is absolutely backing it up. And we know that with neuroplasticity, we can change the pathways that our thoughts go down and the beliefs that we're creating. So this is a time to really get clear about what you're saying to yourself internally and externally. What are you feeding your mind? And how can you change that into more positive, forward-moving, uplifting, and high-performing things that you want and you know that others around you absolutely need? This is not the time to cave in to doom and gloom. Lastly, spiritual intelligence, that great self, that great power that is within all of us, usually accessed through our internal connection and particularly through the heart. Some of us with intuition use our third eye and we can see, hear, feel the guidance that we are actually receiving. At a more mundane level, if you like, spiritual intelligence is about the meaning that we find in life, the meaning that we create, the purpose that we feel, the fulfillments that we feel, therefore, from that meaning and that purpose, and knowing that we're actually following our sacred duty. That is the most uplifting, joyful thing. And it also allows us to access the inner bliss that is always there, the inner peace that is always there, the inner truth that is always there. So know that you have that core within you that is incredibly powerful. It's illuminated, brighter than 1,000 suns, and therefore is far, far more powerful than any negativity. If it weren't, we would have imploded by now. So start to build trust within yourself by giving yourself time to at least refer to that inner strength, to that light within you that is your soul, is your higher self, and is your connection with consciousness. This is how you build your spiritual intelligence. And from having done this for more than 35 years myself, I can tell you that who I have become and the epiphanies, the insights, the things that have happened for me in my life have come from that connection. When I don't do my practices, when I forget to refer and I get caught in anxiety and fear and worry, all about what might be, but not necessarily what has actually happened, I am disconnecting from that power. I am looking to keep myself safe, but actually it's a false sense of security. When we go within and come closer and closer to our hearts, closer and closer to that center that absolutely knows what to do, absolutely can see all, is all seeing, all knowing, and all powerful, then we are activating our spiritual intelligence. It is all loving, so you can also trust who wants the best for you. Everything else is us clearing away the things, the beliefs, the conditioning, what's going on the surface that keeps us from being referring to that pure self within. So I was going to call, and I think I will call this session Gathering the Cloak. And in essence, what we need to do is put on that meditation shawl, put on that cloak of inner trust, inner security, and gather that around us. Gather it around our families, gather it around our friends, gather it around the people we lead, the people we serve, and have a sense of creating a beautiful tribe, if you like, a more tribal feeling of true security. Because when we do, this is not selfish. This is not ignoring the rest of the world. In fact, when we do the work on ourselves, because we are all connected, we are all one in our humanity, and we're all one universally, whatever work we do on ourselves, whatever we're giving ourselves, shifts the vibration of our own frequency and therefore is impacting on the whole system. So when we spend time uplifting ourselves, we're doing it for everybody and everything. So it isn't about feeling guilty that we're not taking on all those problems, that we're not looking at all the suffering. It's actually about saying, we don't need to do that. And my role is to play the part where I am someone who's going to be the uplifting, positive frequency that we need to elevate our whole existence. So I hope that helps. I'd love your comments. Please feel free to put in the comments what you do, what sort of rituals you set up for yourself, what you might take from what I've suggested today. It's not the whole answer by any means, but it is having an attitude of gratitude for where we are and what is working in our world and doing more of it, really, doing more of what is for the highest and best for all. So, sending you my best wishes and looking forward to further tips and tools on finding balance and harmony in our lives as conscious leaders and livers, spiritual seekers on the path.